I always liked one of my favorite sayings is an unmanaged mind is like a 2-year-old running with scissors. It can do a lot of damage, right? And that's how our minds are. They're like 2-year-olds. They're just all over the place. And so you're so right. People don't teach us how to manage our minds. And it is one of the most basic and powerful skills you can learn.
Welcome to Inspired Choice today. I'm your host, Caroline Biesalski, here to bring you authentic stories, surprising lessons, and powerful takeaways to fuel your journey in business and life. In each episode, I'll take you from one inspiring guest to the next, blending their experiences with my expertise to uncover practical strategies you can use right away. Whether you're starting out or stepping up, stay tuned for insights and actionable tips that make a difference. And stick around until the end for a special freebie just for our listeners. Hello and welcome, Inspired Podcast community. This is your new episode. My name is Caroline and my today's guest is Caroline Peterson. I'm so happy that she said yes to our interview. How are you doing today?
Great. Thank you, Caroline, for having me.
Oh, what a great day for a great interview today. I would love to introduce you to the audience, of course. So you are a professional certified coach and energy leadership master practitioner dedicated to helping burnt out professionals beat stress, overcome burnout, and achieve their goals. After facing severe burnout and a breast cancer diagnosis, you learned powerful tools to heal and manage stress, which you now share with others to help them live low stress, fulfilling lives. Welcome to the Inspired Podcast, Caroline Peters.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You did that very well.
It is you recognized yourself. And my first question to you is, when it appears again, how did your personal journey through burnout and healing inspire your coaching approach?
I think that for me, it came from a desire to serve others and to create and find the larger why in what had happened to me. As human beings, we tend to want to make meaning out of things and to find purpose and to give ourselves purpose. I found a larger why in that journey. And it was that, well, if I didn't know this stuff about stress, if I didn't know what burnout felt like, if I didn't know that I was in burnout, if I didn't know that I was damaging my body with potentially deadly consequences by not managing my stress, I can guarantee you there are millions and millions of other people who also don't know that, even with the wealth of information at our fingertips.
Wow, this is a good explanation. So normally you don't think about this, but there are people needing that information out there.
Absolutely. I wish I had had somebody to show me my mind, and to show me how my mind was creating the stress that my body was experiencing, and somebody that was like sounding the alarm bells, right? I always thought it was something wrong with me, that I just needed to be smarter or faster or more chill or more whatever it was. It was some sort of like shortcoming in my being that was creating the stress in my life, right? It was my fault. I made everything my fault. And I think so many of us do this.
Yes, we think we are not good enough. And you mentioned this, make it happen. We think we have always to do something in order to receive. Like there's a difference between make it happen and let it happen, right?
Yes, there's a huge difference. And I know that we have a global audience with us. I will say in Western society, and especially in the United States, there is very much this make it happen ideology, right? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, make it happen, create your own destiny, create your own success. So when things feel hard and when you're not able to keep all of the plates spinning, so to speak, you figure that it must be, I'm doing something wrong, right? Everybody else can handle this. Why can't I?
Yeah, I think this is the big illusion because what we see on social media is only in Germany we say the chocolate side. I don't know how you call it. It's when
Oh,
everything is fine. Yeah, you know,
yeah.
the chocolate side.
I love that. The chocolate inside. Yes.
Yeah, it's like you have your positive aspects and then the negative stuff you want to hide from the
Yeah.
world. But on
Yeah.
social media, we see all those successes and then we feel less, for
Yes.
example.
There's actually something that happens. They've created a whole term for it called toxic positivity, when everything is always so wonderful on social media and everybody's always so happy. So then, in addition to the stress that you feel unable to manage, you feel even more like a failure for not being happy all the time.
Yes.
It's like there's this new thing I'm failing at, well-being or hashtag living my best life, right? Now I've got something else to fail out at today. And I do think that that is a common experience for a lot of people who are paying attention to the chocolate inside.
The chocolate. Yes, and while you were talking, I thought about isn't it interesting that it's these are always other people telling you this,
Yeah.
that you are not enough, or why are you not doing this, or you have to do it that way, and it is their way, it's not your way.
Well, I think here's the sneaky thing about that, though. Um, that is how we start our lives, right? We have parents who tell us the right way and the wrong way. We have teachers who give us passing grades or failing grades. We have friends that we want to fit in with. We have these societal messages through social media and through you know all of the information platforms that surround us. At some point, Caroline, we stop recognizing that those are external voices. We take on their opinions and their beliefs around what we should be doing and how we should be being, and we make them our own. So we stop identifying those messages as anything external to us. They're just the voice in our head, the voice in your head telling you you're wrong or less than or not enough or you're so stupid or why are you stressing about this, or and this is the one that I kind of giggle at with my clients all the time. Everybody else has it together, why don't I hear this especially from a lot of women who play the comparison game, especially mothers, working mothers. Well, so and so has it so together, right? And I just don't. I'm a mess inside. And I find myself laughing, and I have to apologize and say I'm so sorry. I'm not laughing at you. I am laughing because I know the truth, because those successful women who have it all together are hiring me because they're a mess inside. We have these completely delusional thoughts about the people around us, and we feel like failures in comparison. Guess what? So does that perfect person sitting next to you. Odds are the person that you are idolizing for having it all together is also dealing with their own negative internal voice, telling them they're not good enough in some way.
Yes, I'm guilty for thinking this about other people. Yes, and this is also a distraction from my own whatever. So I would say it is like it's about self-care and being honest with yourself, and then to become more authentic also.
Yes. I think, Caroline, you hit on something really, really important. It's one of the really sneakiest causes of burnout is when you are having to wear a mask that is hiding the real you. So it's almost like you're playing a part with the rest of the world, and who you really are and how you really feel is something that's tightly hidden and controlled. Think about the cognitive energy it takes to do that every day, day in, day out, all day long, right? Um, and think about the relief you might experience and the energy you might save if you didn't have to do that, right? Having to wear that mask, having to hide who you truly are, being kind of discordant. Like if you're, for example, if you're working in a workplace whose values don't align with your own, right? That can be such a psychological source of stress that you're not even really aware of. It's like this low hum stress in the background, but it can actually, over time, cause huge problems in your body, in your mind, in your spirit, and can be a leading cause of burnout. So just become aware. If you feel like you're having to put on a mask to get through the day, it might be time for something to shift.
Yes, and what would be your advice to those people being in workplaces that are not aligned to their values? You mentioned values, but also
Ooh,
maybe they are not aware of their values, but they are aware of wearing a mask.
yes. So of course of course I'm going to plug coaching because I love it so much. And really, this is so valuable for people who may not be able to see their thoughts clearly, or who may not be able to identify the source of the dissonance or the discord, but they know it's there. For if you've never had somebody lead you through an exercise to get crystal clear on what your values are and what's really important to you and what's a deal breaker, then how do you know? How do you know how to make powerful decisions on behalf of those values for yourself, right? So one of the things that's really, really important is having clarity about what's important to you, about what your values are, about what's behind the mask and what the mask is, and about why it feels necessary to wear the mask. What are you protecting? Are you trying to keep yourself safe? If so, why? What are you trying to keep yourself safe from? These are really important questions. And I find that if you are able to do self reflection and journaling, that's great. But sometimes it can be so much more effective to ask these questions and work through the answers with a coach or with somebody who is outside your own brain, because we can get really lost inside the weeds of our own brains.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. And I was thinking about when you were talking about, yeah, wearing a mask. And also, I had an episode earlier or a couple of months ago uh, in when I reflected myself, so to say, when things came to the surface, because I worked on myself as well, then I had the expression, so the term of holding myself back, so not saying what I want to say, because I wanted to, yeah, I would say protect people from being disappointed
Yeah.
about me, or yeah, the
Yes.
message.
Oh my gosh, this is so familiar, Caroline. That feeling of, well, if they really knew me, if they really knew what I was really thinking, they wouldn't like me or they wouldn't accept me, right? And there is this kind of biological drive to be accepted and liked by the tribe. You don't want to get kicked out of the tribe, right? They keep you safe. Being part of a community, being part of a friend group, being part of a work group, whatever it is, that's a need for us to be part of the group. And so there is definitely this fear that so many of us carry around, whether we acknowledge it or not. If they really knew who I was, they would know I'm not perfect. They wouldn't like me. I'm not really lovable. They only like the mask. They don't like the real me. And when you keep marrying the mask, you're always going to have that because you're not giving anybody the opportunity to know the real you, right?
You mean I maintain this thought, this false belief, and
Yeah.
therefore I create it over and over again? I don't know.
Bingo. Yes. Yes. And that is one of the predominant things that coaching teaches us is that our thoughts create our reality. And most of the time, here's the unfortunate thing, most of the time we're completely unaware of that dynamic. We're completely unaware of the thoughts that we're thinking and how they are creating our reality. But they do. They absolutely do. And so, what might happen if you dropped the mask and one person saw the real you? What might happen if they liked that person? That, that could rock your world. And most of us have had that experience with a close family or a close friend. The more you can bring that into your everyday experience, I promise, the less stress you are going to experience eventually.
Yes, and there will be other people attracted to me.
Yeah.
They were not there before, and maybe I like them more than the
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah. Of course you do, because you like the people that you can be yourself around. It's kind of like for all of the men listening, I apologize. The women will so understand this. It's like getting home from work and taking off your bra. And it's that sigh of relief of just kind of releasing yourself from that tightness, right? And that's what it feels like to take off a mask. It's like this relief. We just kind of get to be ourselves. And it's really important to have that in your life. And the more you can expand that for yourself, the better. And if that's really scary and really threatening to you, I do suggest doing that alongside with a therapist or with a coach or with a dear friend, somebody in that trusted, loving role.
Wow, thank you so much. Yes, it's so important to ask for help and for support. Most of
Mhm.
us are not used to ask for help. And my question would be, when did you find out about the dynamics in, yeah, you mentioned it already, the dynamics like wearing masks or how thoughts create things and so on.
So I've been doing this kind of thought work and mind work for decades. I was a psychology major in college. I used a modality in the early 2000s called Psych K, which helps you uncover the kind of subconscious beliefs that are really creating your reality. And I worked on learning how to shift those beliefs. And then in my coach training, we really dive deep into that, and I had extensive training, and then working for years with hundreds of one-on-one clients. I see the human brain at work all the time, all day long. And trust me, our brains are so similar. We think that we are so unique in our problems. I guarantee you, if you are deeply suffering or wounded with certain thoughts or beliefs, there are millions of people out there who are experiencing that same reality. So the more I work with people, the more I start to see that this is just kind of our operating systems, and we have so much judgment around it. And when you strip all the judgment of others and the judgment of yourself, when you strip all that away, you really just look at this as a problem to be solved. How can I use my brain in favor of myself instead of against myself?
Wow, thank you so much for sharing. And I have to say that you are the first person in over 470 episodes mentioning Psyche, and I learned how to pronounce it. I had difficulties, but it's a trademark, and I was introduced to a person last year who is a practitioner. I was fascinated by that. So thank you so much. Episode 22 in the first season, by the way, she's the one. Also, you can connect whatever you do. I love that. And thank you. And I have another question for you, of course. Just a second. How does energy leadership play a role in helping clients transform their life?
Oof, this is so good. Okay, so energy leadership is a system that I was trained in my coach training to identify the lenses that we all wear in terms of our brains and how we look at the world. And the reason it's called energy leadership is that thoughts have energy. Without going too deep into the different kinds of energy, I will say, there's, let's just really simplistically, there's positive energy and negative energy. And when you become familiar with the lenses through which you are seeing circumstances, you can start to become more at choice about how you want to view circumstances. And when you change your thoughts, you change your energy, right? And so you move from negative energy into positive energy. You move from being shut down and kind of this shrinking energy into being expansive and into seeing possibility. And this is not just a euphemism. It's not just a figure of speech. Physically, our brains do this. When you are in a stress response, when you are in fear, when you are shut down, your visual cortex narrows. Your prefrontal cortex is singularly focused on what it perceives as the threat, whether it be a nasty neighbor or a mean boss or yelling kids, right? On the other end of the spectrum, as you move out of stress, your visual cortex expands. Your prefrontal cortex's ability to problem solve expands. You see possibility where there was none before. And this is what that energy leadership model helps my clients do. They move from being in fear and stress and shut down and overwhelm and not even knowing where to start or what to do into purpose and possibility really powerfully. And I teach them how to do that.
That sounds amazing. And I can tell you, no one explained it to me that way. I got clarity now because it's that simple and therefore overlooked, of course, by so many people. We are not taught that in school, also not how to make decisions, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I have, yes, you want to?
I always liked one of my favorite sayings is an unmanaged mind is like a 2-year-old running with scissors. It can do a lot of damage, right? And that's how our minds are. They're like 2-year-olds. They're just all over the place. And so you're so right. People don't teach us how to manage our minds. And it is one of the most basic and powerful skills you can learn.
Absolutely. And to add to this is our brains are switching stations. I cannot pronounce this. Yes, it is an electrical switching station, and we have the power to choose our thoughts, of course. And you mentioned positive and negative energy. And wow, I love that topic so much. But of course, also our episode is coming to an end. And I have one last question to you. It's about where can people find you when they want to reach out to you after listening to this episode?
So, easiest way to find me is to remember Cat the Coach. It's with a C, like the animal, Cat the Coach. You can go to catthecoach.com, which is my website. You can also find me at Cat the Coach on Instagram and Facebook. LinkedIn is a little harder because it's Catherine Peters, but I promise you, if you go to either or any of the Cat the Coach channels, I'm also on YouTube at Cat the Coach. Cat the Coach everywhere.
So I will follow you everywhere. I assure you, I will click on it, and then I love your content. I can say this was sharings. I learned so much. Thank you so much for our interview. And of course, now is time for your final thoughts to the audience, please.
My final thought to the audience is one of my very favorite quotes of all time by a famous statistician named George Box. He said, "All models are wrong, but some are useful." So any model that you're bringing, any thought matrix that you're bringing to any circumstance in your life is only ever your view of that circumstance. Is it useful or is it not? If it's not useful, pick a different one that is.
What a great quote. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for being on this podcast.
Thank you, Caroline, for having me. It was delightful.
And see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to Inspired Choice today. I'm thrilled to have you on this journey of growth and transformation. Don't forget to hit follow or subscribe to stay connected and never miss an episode. And here's something special. Grab your free 20-minute breakthrough session with me. It's designed to help you kickstart or level up your business. Just check out the show notes for more. Until next time, keep making those inspired choices. See you in the next episode.